In today's video, I'm going to show you how to find a scientific journal article that has been peer-reviewed using the database PubMed. I'm also going to discuss citations and referencing in Nutrition 100. So let's dig in. First, let's start off with PubMed. PubMed is a database that has millions of citations of peer-reviewed journal articles. It's a really good database. It's featuring mostly life sciences and biomedical topics, which does include nutrition, and it's a great resource for finding peer-reviewed research. There are other databases out there that you can use. Some of them are okay, and some of them are good. I'm most familiar with PubMed, and I think it's easy, and I think it is one of the best databases to use. So let's take a look at PubMed. So here's PubMed. PubMed, as I mentioned, is a large database. It's put together by the National Library of Medicine in the United States, but it is actually much more of an international effort now. Like I said, it's one of the best databases out there and really useful for looking for current research. So what you have there is a search bar. You can search for anything you want. So if you're searching for a supplement or diet, put the name of your supplement or diet. You can narrow things down a little bit if you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in creatine supplementation. That's can be a popular topic for athletes or bodybuilders. I'm going to narrow it down a little bit more by putting in a sport. And there's a sport that I'm interested in. And we'll see what this comes up with. So it came up with 111 results, it looks like. And that's not bad. Sometimes you get a lot of results. If you put in COVID-19, you probably get like 100,000 results, and that can be a little bit overwhelming, which is why I like to narrow things down a little bit. So what you want to do is scroll down a little bit, and you can see on the left, there's this option to select free. So you don't have to select that, but if you don't, you may have to pay for an article, and I'm assuming most of you don't want to do that. Free is just fine. There should be plenty of articles that are free. So you can see this narrowed down our results to 67. So this should give me a lot to choose from for creatine supplementation. So I'll scroll down a little bit. You can see there are lots of options here. And so you can take a look and see if there's anything you're interested in. Review articles like this number 4 here may be a good place for me to start and see if I can find some good information on it. I am looking for a study. So I'm going to select number 3 here. The effects of creatine long-term supplementation on muscle morphology and swimming performance in rats. So that sounds interesting. Let's check it out. So there is the abstract or citation information for this article. You can see we've got the journal name, year, volume, page numbers, title of it, authors, abstract. The abstract is the summary of the journal article. Sometimes there's a little bit more information, like a couple of figures, some similar articles, and so on. So this is not the complete paper. This is just the summary information. To get the complete paper, I'm going to click over here on the right. It says free full text. So we're going to click on that and see where that brings us. So here is the full study or journal article. I'll scroll down. You can see we still have the abstract there, but now we're getting a little bit more information, the introduction, background. This is always good to read. Always take a look at the abstract before you read the paper, because it's going to give you an idea what the whole thing is about, and even whether it's understandable for you. Some of these papers are going to be very complex and technical, and you may not have the expertise to really fully understand them. So scrolling down, you can see introduction, methods, study design, exercise training. Kind of interesting to see how they train rats for swimming. So kind of curious about that. And then the results and so on. So it looks like an interesting paper. So maybe you've decided this is the one that you're looking for. And you can download it, and you're probably going to need to download it and submit it as part of your assignment for my class. So if you take a look over here on the right, it says PDF. So I'm going to click on that, and you're going to see that this is going to give us a nice formatted version of the paper. So there it is. This is the version that you'd find printed off and bound into a journal. Well, a journal is a little bit like a magazine that could be found in a library somewhere. And it's all the same text, just formatted a lot nicer. And you can download this by clicking the download button. It looks like there's one here in the top right corner. So I can click that, and that is going to save to my computer. It looks like it wants to save it to my downloads folder, which is great. And I can find it there later for reading or submitting for my assignment. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint, and what I want to talk a little bit about is citations, and I'll come back to this journal article and I'll show you how to cite this one. So here we are, back to the PowerPoint. So with regards to referencing and citations, by the way, this information is found in this document that's found on Moodle. So please do refer to it from time to time when you're looking for instructions on how to do referencing and citations in my class. So first question is when to cite. So anytime you have information that is not common knowledge, which is actually quite often. So common knowledge to the reader, just assume your reader is at a similar education level that you are at. And so anything that you had to learn this semester is going to be not common knowledge for most people. Here's a couple of examples. Example 1, carrots, spinach, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, broccoli, and cantaloupe are all sources of dietary beta-carotene. So maybe you know that carrots and tomatoes are, but you don't know about those other fruits or vegetables. So this is not common knowledge. It should be cited. So take a look at the citation there. You can see the citation is found at the end of the sentence. I'll come back to this in a minute. The citation is that number. Sorry about that. There's the citation. It's that number that's found in the square brackets. And notice the period is at the end after the brackets. Here's another example. It says one study has estimated that 4.6% of Canadians are vegan. So this is a number or a statistic. Anytime you see a number or a statistic, it should be cited. Most people aren't going to know those things in their head as common knowledge, so you must have gotten it from a source. There's the citation again at the end. Notice it's a different number because it's a different source. Number 2, when you introduce facts, paraphrase, or summarize ideas that you find in a source. So anytime you're getting information from a source, really is what it's saying. Any fact that is, again, not common knowledge. I know it's similar to number 1, but it's just a different way to kind of phrase it. So here's an example. Probably all of you know that you can get vitamin D from the sun, but there's a bit of information there that's clearly obtained from a source. It says that maybe this is paraphrased from the textbook or an internet source. So since you've done that, you do need to cite it. There's the citation there at the end of the sentence. So number 3, when you borrow the plan or structure of a source, this is probably not going to be relevant in your assignment for this course, but in some cases you're borrowing somebody's thesis and some other ideas, and anytime you are having ideas that aren't your own, which is very common, you do want to borrow those ideas. You do want to give credit to those ideas by citing them properly. Lastly, when you quote 2 or more words in verbatim. This is very relevant in humanities courses, such as English or history. This is not relevant in science. In science, very rarely do we want to quote people. There's no reason to quote people. If you quote somebody and use their words, I can't give you grades for those words because they're not your words. I want your words. We might quote someone once in a while in science writing if it's very eloquently written, or if it's historical or someone famous. So if you're citing, let's say, quoting Albert Einstein, then maybe you want to cite that. In this class, if you quote somebody word for word, you will lose marks. There is your warning. Find your own way to rewrite what is being said. So how to use in-text citations. So just a reminder that anything that is in your reference list should be cited somewhere. That's how this works. So the citation is going to be in the sentence that that information is being used. So not at the end of the paragraph, not the beginning of the paragraph, not somewhere else randomly, but in that sentence. If it means that you are putting a citation for every sentence in that paragraph, then so be it. It's much better to overcite than to undercite. So make sure you're doing that properly. The citation itself is going to be in square brackets and a number. And so there's the example right there. You can see that the period is at the end. The citation goes with that sentence. So don't put a period before the citation, put the period after the citation because that citation goes with the sentence. If you have multiple citations, so maybe you found that information in two sources, you can give both of those sources if you like. You can see I've done it that way, where you have both numbers separated by commas in the square brackets. If you want to refer to the author and give them a little bit more information about them, you can use their last names, and you're going to have the citation with the author name. So it might look something like this. Payadayati and Levine, and there's the citation, reviewed several vitamin C physiology studies. You could put that at the end of the sentence as well. So if you want to put the citation at the end, that's also acceptable. If there are 3 or more authors, we don't necessarily want to list a whole bunch of names. Some studies will have 20 authors. That's going to be a very long, cumbersome sentence. So we're going to use this abbreviation et al. So here's how it might be used. As discussed by Tang et al. And then the citation, vitamin C has a role in mediating inflammation. So what is et al? Et al is a Latin term. It means and others, and it's an abbreviation for that. So since it's an abbreviation, we do need to have a period after al because the word al has been abbreviated. But it basically means and others, and it's a way to simplify your citation. So let's talk about the reference list or the works cited list and how I want you to format that. The format is going to be a little different depending on whether it's a journal article or a book or a website, and I'll go through all 3 of those examples. You can see here is the general format. You're going to use the last names and their initials. So the initials of their first and middle names. So if your name was Michael Smith, then the citation would be Smith, comma, M for Michael. If there's a middle name, then you're going to use the second initial as well. You're going to have the title of the article in sentence form. So notice that means that you have the capital at the beginning and everything else is lowercase. Don't forget the year. That's going to go second in brackets. Then you have the journal name in italics, followed by the volume and page numbers. And lastly, something called the digital object identifier, which you can often find on the paper itself. Let's go back to that paper we found in PubMed, and I'll show you how you can cite this. So there is from PubMed, from the PubMed website, there's the article. You can see the citation information. There's the journal name, Journal of Sports Science Medication. Notice that's an abbreviation. You can use the abbreviation or you can use the full form. It doesn't matter. There's the year. I don't care about the month, care about the volume numbers and the page numbers. Also, the title is important and the author names. The abstract is down there. It's not important. Here's the actual paper. You can find that information on the actual paper. You can see there's the journal name. In this case, it's given the full journal name, Journal of Sports Science and Medication. There's the year, the volume, and the pages again. And of course, we have the title of the paper and the authors. The abstract is not important for the citation. Neither is the name of the university or school where they did the research. So let's cite this paper. First, we have the author names. So there are the author names right there. Author names. And notice all the punctuation, the commas and the periods, and all that is very important. Next is the year. So 2009, and that is in round brackets. Next is the name of the paper. So this is the title of the study, and that is done in sentence form. This is followed by the name of the journal. So name of journal, and notice this is in italics. So this is important. In fact, many works are often represented in italics, like the name of a book or other things. So make sure you get that correct. This here is the volume and page numbers. So this paper, by the way, does not seem to have a digital object identifier. So that does happen once in a while. Usually you see this on older sources. but once in a while you see that on some new ones. So I'm going to omit that part. So that's what this is going to look like for this journal paper. I'll show you a couple other examples. So here are two other examples. You can see we have the authors, followed by the year and the title. Notice this one has one capital along the way in the title because Goldilocks is the name of a person. And of course, we got to use a capital letter for that. The journal name is in italics, the volume and page numbers, and then lastly is the digital object identifier. So take a look at these examples and try to emulate them for your assignment. Remember that every detail of punctuation is important. Every comma and period, make sure you have all the correct formatting or you will lose marks. So let's take a look at a book example. So very similar idea is you're going to use the person's last name and initials, the year, the book title, and then followed by the publisher in this case. So here are two examples. Let's take a look at the second example first. This is your textbook. You can see there's 3 authors. The year it was published was 2020. And then Nutrition Concepts and Controversies, 5th Canadian edition is the title, followed by the publisher, which is Nelson Cengage, publisher. The first example is a little different because notice the author, there is no person as an author. This is the organization this time that is the author. So sometimes that is the case. 2021 is the year, Canadian Cancer Statistics 2021, and then Canadian Cancer Society. Sometimes you can see we put the location of publication. That's not essential for Nutrition 100, but if you wish to do so, please do so. That's very common in many citation formats. Lastly, let's take a look at websites because I'm sure many of you will be getting much of your information from the internet. So same thing, we're going to have the authors or the name of the organization. In many cases with web sources, there is no actual author, so you're going to put the name of the organization. The second thing that's tricky is the date published or accessed, and I'll show you some examples in a minute, the title of the article in italics, and then the web address itself. So here are two examples. So the first example has no author, so we're using the organization, which is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And notice I have the word accessed in my date. So this had no publication date. So I need to tell the reader that I looked at it or I read it on a certain day. So in this case, it looks like I read it on May 10th, 2022. I have the name of the article and then followed by the web address. The second one is a little different. We have an actual author, so Griffin RM, and a year of publication. So I put that. I can use the word published if I wish, or I can just put the year and then have the name of the article and of course the web address. So once you have all your references together, they're going to be put in the reference list. Often we call this works cited or literature cited. You can use the word references as well. They're going to go in there and they're going to be alphabetical by the first author's last name. So the first author and the first reference in this case is the one from the Canadian Cancer Society. And you can see they're all there alphabetical by last name. Each of them are given a number, and that number is going to correspond to the number that you used in your assignment in the citation in square brackets. So just a reminder that all of this information is found in this 2-page handout that's found on Moodle. So please make use of that and always ask questions if you have any, and I'll be sure I will be happy to help you. Good luck with your assignment. I hope you found this video useful. See you in class.